Unions started out on the high moral ground of allegedly protecting workers, getting them better benefits, better treatment from those who employ them. But unfortunately, what has happened over the years is that it has turned into power fiefdoms.
For more than 50 years, America's union bosses have developed numerous ways to bolster union ranks, often escalating to heavy-handed tactics. And for decades, the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation has been working to protect America's workers from compulsory unionism. We've had our share of victories, and today, fewer and fewer American workers are choosing union membership when they are actually given a choice. But we are now witnessing the union movement coming under the control of a new generation of militants. These individuals have a radical vision for America's future, and to fund their agenda, they are going to dangerous new lengths to impose dues-paying union membership on potentially millions of workers.
The National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation is a voice in the fight against compulsory unionism. Through its National Legal Aid Program, it's working to establish the right of every American to work for a living without being forced to belong to a union.
It is founded to do one thing and one thing only, and that is to represent employees and protect their rights under compulsory unionism schemes that are in place across America. The foundation is the only legal defense organization of its kind that specifically works on forced unionism issues. For the last 35 plus years, it has represented employees at the very lowest levels of the court system to the very highest levels of the court system, including the United States Supreme Court.
We've had companies go out of business. People lose their jobs because of unions. They are fighting for union bosses rather than workers.
Workers across America face an assortment of abuses under compulsory unionism. Let's start with the very serious, including physical violence. The foundation has represented employees who have been intimidated both physically and mentally and emotionally for their desire not to associate or join a labor union. We have several cases. In fact, several plaintiffs, former plaintiffs, came to Washington, D.C. and testified in front of the United States Senate about the abuse, the beatings, the bombings, the arson, the intimidation both from a physical and an emotional standpoint that workers suffered. We had a lady from Winchester, Virginia, who had a bloody, severed cow's head placed on the hood of her car when she crossed a picket line in a labor dispute out in the western part of Virginia.
Keeping airplanes running smoothly is John Massiella's lifelong passion, whether it's working on his own two-seater or those of his employer, U.S. Airways. Several years ago, John made a decision to stop supporting the Airline Mechanics Union because he objected to the union's position on political candidates and issues.
Workers are forced to support political causes and issues that they may oppose. Unfortunately, with this regime of compulsory unionism, a worker can be compelled to pay dues to a union, and then that union can turn around and use those compulsory dues dollars to support radical causes that the worker may disagree with.
Justice was definitely served. And it was wonderful to see about 8 years of debating this issue and kind of butting heads a little bit with the political end of the union, to see that I came out on top. I mean, it was overwhelming in a sense.
We've been to the United States Supreme Court 12 times. The major cases that dictate precedents for private sector workers and public sector workers in this country are National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation cases. We've got a legal director who's been to the United States Supreme Court 4 times. That type of talent doesn't exist anywhere else in the country.
National Right to Work Foundation is interested in defending individuals against any kind of coercion, especially in this case from coercion from unions, but it also means coercion from the government.
The Right to Work Foundation provides services free for workers, so obviously they need support from somewhere. So I think if folks are looking for a good place to send their money to help the American worker, to improve our economy, to bring more jobs to this country, a good place to send those dollars is the Right to Work Foundation.
Not everyone who joins a union agrees with the political and religious views that are supported by organized labor. Those who disagree now have more options through court battles won by the National Right to Work Legal Defense Foundation. As awareness about individual rights and freedoms continues to grow, the foundation is hopeful that someday abuses will stop and workers all over the country can refuse to join a union without fear of retaliation.